Welcome back to New World Next Week. I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com.
And I am James Evan Pilato of MediaMonarchy.com. The claims made against the Bohemian Club are false and meritless. We have got that story plus a new season of Veep, but first, last Friday afternoon, near here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, Alec Baldwin's Rust shooting trial suddenly thrown out. Dramatic case. The guy famous for imitating Trump on a lame TV show shot and killed a lady and kind of seems to have gotten off scot-free. The next day, the man, old Killer Baldwin, famous for making fun of, gets shot himself. It is a synchro-mystic world, James. The attempted assassination of Donald Trump. On Saturday, July 13th, 2024, Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, and at that time the Republican Party's presumptive nominee in the 2024 presidential election, was shot and wounded while addressing a campaign rally near Butler, Pennsylvania. The shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old man from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, fired 8 rounds with an AR-style rifle from the roof of a nearby building outside the rally venue. He killed an audience member, critically injured 2 other audience members, and injured Trump in his upper right ear. Crooks was then shot and killed by the United States Secret Service counter-sniper team. The incident is being investigated as an attempted assassination and as a potential act of domestic terrorism. Boy, he's going to be in big trouble. Footage of the incident showed Trump clasping his right ear before taking cover on the floor behind the podium, where he was surrounded by Secret Service personnel. After agents helped him to his feet, photographer Evan Vucci of the Associated Press captured images of a bloodied Trump pumping his fist in the air with an American flag in the background that went viral on social media and have been praised widely as iconic and historically important. Trump mouthed or shouted the words, "Fight, fight, fight," as he was escorted offstage to his motorcade. Taken to a nearby hospital, he was released a few hours later in stable condition. He made his first public appearance after the shooting 2 days later at the 2024 Republican National Convention. The shooting gave rise to widespread bipartisan condemnation of political violence, including by President Joe Biden, who called the incident sick. Public figures expressed concern about apparent security failures at the event and called for increased security for other major candidates in the election. RFK Jr. actually gets his Secret Service protection. James, do you hear my rain starting to pour down in the background now?
I do not.
Excellent. I will continue then. Crooks, who had borrowed the legally purchased rifle from his father, had no criminal record and no known motives for the shooting. No ideology is evident from his social media pages or other writings, and authorities have stated that it is unknown whether the assassination attempt was related to his political views. Experts consider the shooting a sign of political polarization in the United States, and political figures called for a reduction in tensions. Soon after the shooting, misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories quickly spread on social media. And now, let's argue about it for decades. James, it was one of those events that immediately, even as Cassie and I were talking about it, was like, oh, I don't know, we probably have a couple of decades to argue about it. But you know, the last guy to say that a shooting was staged or faked, remember, he got fined $1 billion, so watch what you say out there. And like I've said for the last decade, if you thought the Obama cult of personality was bad, just wait till the next one. If you think this president's terrible, just wait till the next one. Now, as we have always said, we are no fans of Warp Speed Trump here and his Zionist vice president. More on that in a moment. But it's his detractors that seem to be genuinely worrying, and the 8 years of kill Trump, kill Hitler has maybe come home to roost. James, it's like a bizarro version of Jesus. Save me from your followers. Maybe, James, this is how they get MAGA to go along with endorsing hate speech laws. The slow motion assassination. Self-described guardians of democracy spent years creating lethal atmosphere around Trump. And of course, as you might imagine, I covered a lot of this on my Monday and Tuesday morning shows. James, I think they are pretty fantastic and some of the best stuff I've done in a while. I highly recommend them. July 15th, Trump injured in assassination attempt. July 16th, Trump shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks' Discord account deleted. Did you hear that the alleged shooter's dad is a behavioral therapist? How ultra is this MK? How many kill teams were maybe in place? Was this literally a warning shot fired past him? Was J.D. Vance waiting in the limo for Trump afterwards asking, any questions? James?
You know, James, I don't know whether to be shocked or horrified or amused at how absolutely completely out of control, unhinged, apoplectic, foaming at the mouth. People are tripping all over themselves to get in here and start speculating and talking about every aspect of whatever we just saw take place, to the point where, of course, I've received many requests so far. James, what's your hot take on this? What do you think? Okay, so I would say, first of all, speculate away all of the crazy whatever. Okay, go for it. And even in the Corbett Report community, I've heard people talking about radio-controlled ear squibs and others like, okay, whatever, guys. But surely, really, truly, the bottom line of this is that we know whatever is happening, the people who are really stage managing all of this, and I mean all of this, are pointing, looking, laughing, saying, "Hey, look at these shadows on the cave wall. Are you not entertained?" Well, no, actually, I'm not even interested. I have zero interest in discerning the shadows on the cave wall and trajectories of whatever bullets may or may not have been radio controlling your squibs or anything else. Zero negative interest in that. Meanwhile, I'm trying to turn my head and look at the people casting the shadows on the stage, on the cave wall, on the stage show wall. Why? What does this mean? Because the one thing that we can all agree on, no matter what you think about this incident, staged or fake or real or hoax or false flag or crisis actor or whatever you think, we can all agree that whatever happened there was absolutely 100% at the very, very, very least allowed to happen. Because like so many other spectacular incidents, if they had followed even the most basic security protocols, this would not have happened. It's absolutely ridiculous. And as people follow all of the developments in the unfolding story of what this Crooks character may or may not have been doing, and the footage coming out of people screaming at law enforcement for 5 minutes before this happened. There's a guy, he's got a gun, look at that guy, look at that. And completely ignored. There's counter snipers waiting for him to get set up, waiting for him to get his weapon out, waiting for him to aim, waiting for him to take a shot, and then killing him. Yeah, okay, again, total nonsense. This was, at the very least, allowed to happen. It happened for a purpose and for a reason. So the only thing that is interesting to me is, why? What is this? And as you always say, James, the real action is in the reaction, and maybe we haven't seen the whole reaction yet. But one thing that is clearly manifesting already is that this is a giant shot in the arm, shot in the ear, to all of those people, the very people who fell for all the QAnon nonsense, all the hopium, all the stupid nonsense from the first Trump term. He's gonna drain the swamp. Look, the deep state is against him, guys. Now, what better credentials could you possibly wear other than, hey, yeah, they tried to shoot me. They missed by a quarter of an inch. So I'm clearly on the up and up. And please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Trump does not have to be involved in this in any way, shape, or form. He could be the absolute, complete, total puppet that has no idea what's happening, and all of this is being staged around him. It doesn't matter. The point is, and for that reason, they might continue, and they might finish the job later. They might actually take him out. That doesn't make Trump a great guy. It doesn't mean that the deep state is against him. It means that they have a character that they are putting in their stage play that they may get rid of at any time that it is convenient for them. And if we need any more reminding of what draining the swamp looks like from Trump, how about this? How about when he just floated Jamie Dimon as a potential secretary treasurer in the new Trump administration? Yes, that Jamie Dimon, the Jamie Dimon who actively worked with and covered up Epstein for many years. And oh yeah, what about Epstein? Trump, are you going to release the Epstein files? Oh yeah. Well, I could do that, but well, you don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that world. Have you watched Trump squirm as they ask him about the Epstein files? Anyway, yay, our savior for this political. Anyway, it is a stage show. And I am not interested in the show. I am only interested in the people who are casting these shadows.
Like the JFK files he totally let out those couple years back, right? Exactly. So very much to discuss in here. Yes, and James, of course, I'm sure both of our respective membership communities, all the theories, all the possibilities have all been proffered out there, along with, of course, why are you even talking about this? You still talking about this, man? Get over it. They got us. Now, I would love to spend a segment on this episode laughing at tenacious D-bags and their fake left buffoonery because, yes, there's been a lot of reactions to this. And again, the folks who spent the last 8 years saying, murder this Hitler. Everything changed in that moment, James. The paradigm shifted. As we have seen, I think the paradigm shift, the dominant socio-political paradigm of our entire lives that say the Democrats are the cool peace ones that like you. All of that has flipped, and it's because of their own doing. And as I've joked many times, don't make me shoot myself in the foot again. I'm so pissed about Trump. That's essentially been the left, to me, the last 8 years. And like you said, assuming they don't keep shooting until they get him, he basically won the election in that snapshot Iwo Jima moment, which was also staged, by the way, for great photographs. And as a media maven, I appreciate actually how well all of this was rolled out, James. Shot by an assassin on Saturday, and by Monday morning, 3 days later, he hath risen again. Monday morning, I'm heading in to do my show. I know it's going to be, of course, a lot about this assassination attempt. But the breaking news, the red banners I see on Monday morning, Trump classified documents case suddenly thrown out. Subheadline, he's going to announce his vice president any moment soon. And I was like, this is a well-timed media event. That's how you roll out a new product, ladies and gentlemen. And that's how we begin New World Next Week, episode 562, as Haaretz asks the question, where will J.D. Vance stand on Israel? Wherever Trump wants him to. Donald Trump's decision to choose J.D. Vance as his running mate should remove all doubt. America First isolationism is now at the top line of the Republican Party. Not only will this dictate foreign policy, should Trump defeat Biden in November, but Vance immediately becomes the GOP torchbearer, assuming he doesn't get on Trump's bad side like his predecessor, Mike Pence. James, have you seen the meme essentially of, Lenny changing out the how many days since an accident at the plant on The Simpsons and just changing the PE to VA? It's like, Pence, Vance, whatever, I don't know. Republican foreign policy hawks and Jewish organizations, of which I assume there's some sort of ostensible difference, immediately tried to put a good spin on Trump's choice because what else were they going to do? Vance was still far and away the least preferred choice of all the frontrunners in contention for the slot. Rather than having an all-out pro-Israel vice president they could rely on as a counterweight a la Pence, they are now forced to reckon with justifying support for the man who fueled political gridlock for months, preventing the supply of emergency military assistance to occupied Palestine, of course, after October 7th. I'm like, damn, Haaretz, thanks. That's the best news I've heard about this dude so far. And prior to this, James, the only thing I could have said, he's from Ohio. I do like that he made a stink about the giant train chemical disaster in East Palestine, Ohio. Went there, poked a stick in the mud, talked about it. That at least scored the little points with me. But as Real Clear Politics puts it, Vance becomes the face of the new right. Republicans have nominated a hillbilly for vice president. This by his own admission. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance is the author of Hillbilly Elegy, a New York Times bestseller. He's also a United States Marine who graduated from the Ohio State University and later Yale Law School by way of the GI Bill. James, we have no confirmation that he's a Skull and Bones member. Using the veteran benefit to ascend from the Rust Belt, where he said poverty was his birthright, all the way to Silicon Valley, where his financial disclosure forms reveal that he made a small fortune, and from there, of course, you gotta get involved in politics. Vance is only 39. That is damn young. And he's lived the American dream in a hurry, a life portrayed in a biopic directed by Opie. And now he writes the next chapter of his life and American history as the vanguard of a populist conservatism entirely unconcerned with the niceties of long-established GOP orthodoxy. And finally, James here from the San Francisco Standard with J.D. Vance's VP, Peter Thiel, would finally have Trump right where he wants him. What should we make of Trump's choice of J.D. Vance as his running mate? Ordinarily, not a question you think about, like, being confronted with a poo-poo sandwich. You don't really care about what the bread is. But given Vance's background as a tech investor and close ally of some of the industry's least savory culture warriors, it is worth noting a few minutes away from the chaos and hair-tearing to wonder what the decision could mean for Silicon Valley. It depends on which version of Silicon Valley we're talking about, the traditionally nerdish, HP, googly, Facebooky one, or the more recent dirtbag iteration typified by Bitcoin grifters, eyeball-scanning AI weirdos, and killer drone-wielding sociopaths. This is a pretty fantastic piece from the SF Standard. If you mean the first version, then a Trump-Vance ticket is likely a mix of good, lower taxes, and bad. Both Trump and Vance have criticized big tech for censoring conservative voices, and Vance has explicitly called for removing the Section 230 legal protections that allow big social networks to operate. But if you're a fan of that second version of Silicon Valley, the one that loves to boost crypto and anonymously kill people, then the prospect of Vance in the White House could be all your Christmases at once. Now, James, this might be like you asking me, Pilato, what do you think of Taro Aso? So, James, what do you think about this obscure American politician? That's a Japanese foreign vice prime minister.
That's a good analogy, yeah. Hey, guys, there's a breaking development in the sideshow of the American presidential selection sideshow circus. Now to our correspondent, a Canadian anarchist in Japan. What? Sorry. Anyway, yeah, all right. I do appreciate that for Americans, why would you even care what I have to say? But here is what I would have to say. At the very least, I'm glad that people are correctly identifying this Vance swamp monster for what he is, which is a puppet and a creation of Peter Thiel, who, as they outline, not only was he hired by Peter Thiel's company back in 2017? Not only did Thiel invest heavily in Vance's own investment capital fund, not only did he donate $15 million to Vance's Senate campaign, but he also apparently affected the rapprochement between Vance and Trump, because, in case you haven't heard, Vance had some very not nice things to say about Trump in the past, so why are they together now? Anyway, Peter Thiel, is really who's going to be assuming the vice presidential office in the Trump administration, and if we know anything about history, well, who was running the Bush administration? It wasn't George W. Bush. It was Dick Cheney. So the question of vice president might be more important than it seems at first glance, because it might give us more of a glimpse into the people casting those shadows from behind the scenes. And Peter Thiel, an interesting character. I like, as you point out, I like the writing in this article, eyeballs scanning AI weirdos and killer drone wielding sociopaths is a good way of describing the new Silicon Valley jet set. But it's a false dichotomy. They're trying to contrast that with the old nerdy googly Facebooky ones. Google and Facebook were eyeball scanning AI weirdos and killer drone wielding sociopaths to the hilt. And, oh, by the way, we're heavily in bed with the intelligence community from their inception, which we know all about. And who was one of the first prime angel investors in Facebook? Oh, that's right, Peter Thiel. Who created Palantir? Oh, that's right, Peter Thiel. Who was a big investor in Palantir? In-Q-Tel. And who was Palantir's biggest client for the first several years of its existence, at least? The CIA. Oh, that's right. Peter Thiel is up to his eyeballs in the deep state. He is a deep state swamp monster. If you want more on that, I will point people to an interesting and good overview from Covert Action magazine. Sugar Daddy of Trump's VP pick has deep ties to CIA, and they go through a lot of information about Thiel and Palantir and its connections, and how Palantir is, of course, heavily invested in supplying technologies of warfare and destruction to Israel. So whatever Vance may or may not have said in the past, one imagines Peter Thiel may be directing American foreign policy more so in the future. Oh, guess where Palantir recently had their board meeting? In Tel Aviv, of course. But if you want even more on Palantir, where it came from, how it conquered the world, might I humbly suggest my article from 2 years ago, How Palantir Conquered the World. I go through the craziness that is Palantir. I think maybe deserving of a re-airing now that we're entering the the new era. But anyway, what a pick. Wow, wonderful. Drain that swamp, Mr. Trump.
James, did you catch the leaked phone call between Trump and RFKJ a day or so after the event? It's a phone call of Trump and RFK, and they're having there, and Trump's saying it would be really great for you. So it's lots of speculation about, RFK, maybe he could be the head of the NIH or whatever. It was put on the internet by RFK the third. That's RFK Jr.'s son, married to, that's right, a CIA agent. I don't know how, for a second, people can follow along with this. Rightfully so, as those same people have been saying to me these last several years. I don't know how Pilato could have ever believed in these phony punk rock saviors. It would be like in believing phony punk rock saviors and all that they say when they work for giant multinational corporations. James, I was hoping a little that it would be like a big wow moment, that it would literally be Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson or Elon Musk or at least Vivek Ramaswamy, just, for the maximum lulls. But, I'm always hoping for more. Our third and final story this week on New World Next Week, we head to, San Francisco, and their secretive all-male Bohemian Club facing new wage theft accusations. San Francisco's elite and secretive Bohemian Club is facing new allegations of wage theft. In a lawsuit seeking class action status, former cook Ron Roussel accused the men-only club, which owns a clubhouse in the city, and the 2,700-acre Bohemian Grove campsite in Sonoma County, of withholding both normal and overtime wages and of doctoring the timesheets. The lawsuit filed in May alleges that the wealthy group sometimes required employees to work through meals and then altered clock-in and clock-out times to hide the extra work, and that the club pressured workers to skip rest breaks. California law requires employers to give workers a 30-minute lunch break if they work more than 5 hours and a 10-minute rest period for every 4 hours on the clock. Most states do a similar thing. Roussel's complaint also claims the club forced employees to work before clocking in, meaning that workers donned protective gear, dealt with security system, and took COVID screenings without receiving pay for that time. It further alleges that some workers had to pay for business expenses without reimbursement, buying items like uniform, safety gear, and cooking knives themselves. James, I feel like the best chefs, because hell yeah, these are my cooking knives. I own my gear, and you'll see me taking it home every day with me. Complaint said at least 100 workers could be party to the case. According to the Bohemian Club's tax return for the fiscal year ending 2022, the organization had 359 employees at the time. In response to the lawsuit, spokesperson Sam Singer said the club values its employees and their work. The claims made in the lawsuit against Bohemian Club are false and meritless. We believe the court will dismiss them, as they have done with another recent case. As Singer alluded, the club has faced similar accusations before, as we have covered right here on New World Next Week before. But also, James, of course, exclusive, epic, new Bohemian Grove ritual footage leaked. Behold, the New World Order's occult anti-human religion of darkness, and share this powerful link. James, we have covered this story before, and much like I've talked about Bilderberg making their own website after years of secrecy, it's really funny. The best way after the exposure of a conspiracy, just cover it up with a bureaucracy, James, and nobody will even pay attention to it.
Exactly right. You nailed it. This is exactly why I pointed to this article specifically, because, oh my god, breaking news, big scandal at Bohemian Grove, guys. Some employees are mad because they didn't get their pee break or whatever. I mean, just, how can you take this idea of these usually top Republican Party officials and corporate chieftains, etc., gathering in the Redwoods for a couple of weeks in the middle of summer to commit mock human sacrifices under a giant stone owl statue and all of this craziness, and go from 20 years ago, you're absolutely insane if you think this exists, to, of course this exists, and you know what the problem is? Is these employees don't get their 20-minute break or whatever. It's just insane, the disconnect, and how you gotta hand it to them, how they can actually make something like this just so completely boring. And so, who cares? I don't want to... I don't want to follow twists and turns of some court case about employees. Anyway, it's all out in the open, so it must not be that important, right? Meanwhile, yes, so apparently there has been up to 20 people who were able to infiltrate the Grove this year by assuming various day jobs at the camp. And now there's new footage that's coming out of all of these rituals in HD that we've never seen before. Apparently this was a group of Gen Z YouTubers. I don't follow YouTube or Gen Z content creators, so I don't know, but apparently these are fairly big people who do things, infiltrate things, and what have you. So this is, and it'll apparently be coming out in their channels. So so you don't have to. I'll keep my eyes out for that to let you know as more is coming out. The only person covering it so far is Alex Jones. So there you go. But I want to say, if you're really interested in what is happening in the world and how things are being run, maybe instead of looking at radio-controlled ear squibs and people on rooftops, maybe you want to be, I don't know, in the California redwoods at the Grove with people who actually make decisions and, oh, by the way, commit mock human sacrifices under giant stone owl statues. I mean, that seems to me at least a little bit closer to where the real power is emanating from.
Absolutely. James, as I often joke on my shows, if it's Gen Z alternative media, well, I'll be very anxious to see their screen grabs of articles. James, this drives me nuts. They're sort of this contextless, you just get a screen grab of something, maybe there's a little quick video, and it's, of course, filmed in the vertical, holding your phone.
With the TikTok captions, yeah.
It just makes an old man's media heart hurt. But James, unfortunately, I bet something that even could add to I'm so bored listening to this story. Oh, boo-hoo, your job sucks. Welcome to every job anyone's ever had anywhere. This, unfortunately, sounds like a million jobs in America. Unfortunately, people get used up at their jobs. And even on my own stupid level at the FM. Back in the day, I got into it with my program director at some point, who's trying to essentially get me to use my personal phone to go out and interview bands and, do other stuff while, you're not at work. It's like, oh, you're going to pay my phone bill? Got all mad when I would dare ask for compensation for using my personal equipment on my personal time to do company work. James, unfortunately, this is what a lot of jobs are like. If they can get away with it, they will absolutely use people up. Oh, hey, we fired your partner, so now you're going to do their job as well. And if you don't like it, hit the bricks, pal. Thankfully, I was able to walk away from that FM radio station that, of course, filed for bankruptcy a few years ago, but the Media Monarchy Kingdom is still kicking, and you can help us out. At newworldnextweek.com, you can find Corbett Report and Monarchy t-shirts and hats and caps and shows and all the ways that, again, can support our work, that we don't have to sell male vitality pills, James. We can just sell the work.
I don't have to, but I'm going to. Get your vital. Okay, anyway, silliness aside. Yes, thank you to the people who make this possible so that, yes, it is possible. And hopefully we are examples of that. You don't have to work for the man and slave for some company in order to make your living. And thank you to the people out there who make that possible. Also, might I just humbly suggest, in addition to the New World Next Week sigh, maybe we should add a New World Next Week shrug of indifference to our bag of tricks here, because some of these stories I just want to... But we'll work on that. Anyway, James, thank you for these stories. Thank you for doing what you do. I hope people tune into the Media Monarchy streams. But on that note, let's leave it there for this week.
Thanks so much, buddy. Take care, man.